and it's just a slap in the face to Conservative values, really.
Let's turn now to a group that Conservative MPs are going to be very keen to hear from for their reaction to the latest twists in partygate. That's young Conservative supporters. Yesterday, I spoke with Conservative MP Sir Charles Walker and asked him this. Just finally, what does it say about your party?
Well, I'm pretty speechless, to be honest.
Well, that's the question that had Conservative MP Sir Charles Walker lost for words. So let's see if our panel of young Conservatives can have a crack at answering our question. Daniel Grainger is the chairman and operations lead of the Young Conservatives Network, and Ben Hawkes is a member of the Conservative Grassroots Initiative Blue Beyond and the Young Conservative Network. I guess let's first get our cards on the table, shall we? The Prime Minister has made it clear he doesn't have any intention of resigning. Is that the right call, Daniel?
I think it is the right call if you take it in the sort of the context of what's going on. I mean, I don't think you can have a situation where the Prime Minister can resign during a global conflict and a cost of living crisis. So, yeah, I think the Prime Minister is absolutely correct in saying he won't resign. I mean, it's obviously unfortunate that he has been fined for this incident, but I think he's done the right thing by apologising. And I think that Conservative MPs will reflect on that over the week and come to their own conclusions. But I do think that he has made the right decision.
What would you consider a resigning offence for a Prime Minister?
Well, I think in a general context, Prime Minister should resign if they've misled the House of Commons. They should resign if they've misled the public in a way that's obviously grossly unacceptable. But I do think that in this particular case, taking the general general global conflict into consideration and the crisis that we have at the moment, I think it wouldn't. If he had been fined for more than one incident, I think he should have resigned. But in this case, personally, I feel that he should.
Okay, well, there's still that possibility looming, isn't there? Ben, your thoughts?
I think the Prime Minister should resign over this, personally. I think he has shown a great degree of contempt for the public. You know, he instituted these rules in the name of public health. He said, you know, it's on TV, it's a massive ask of people. You know, people had to sacrifice many things. People couldn't say goodbye to family members. I, myself, wasn't able to say goodbye to a family member during the COVID pandemic. And yet it seems through Downing Street, the party carried on. You know, I'm just, again, as Sir Charles Walker said, I'm kind of at a loss for words for this, really. I just think it shows contempt for the law, if I'm honest with you.
And what does it make you feel personally with yourself so embedded in the Conservative Party and its future?
I'm quite ashamed, really. You know, I joined this party, you know, believing it's the party of law and order. We're the party of the British people. You know, we stand for honesty, integrity, the rule of law, and it's just a slap in the face to Conservative values, really.
Daniel, how divided do you think young Conservatives are on this issue?
I mean, having a look within our own organisation over the last few days, there has been a sort of consternation, and after the news broke that he had been fined, there was a general consensus that the Prime Minister, while he'd done wrong, in our team had our general support, but within the membership, there were certainly a large proportion of people who thought he should resign. So there's a huge divide on this issue. I think that particularly speaks towards people who've lost loved ones. I think it's absolutely awful that the party carried on, as Ben rightly said. I don't think anyone will make excuses for that or is able to defend that, not even the Prime Minister. And I do think he owes the nation a much more sincere apology than the one he's given, to be honest.
And what about the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak's fine? Did that come as a surprise?
That was a surprise. I think looking at the context of this cabinet gathering, which seemed to have taken place and was reported in the Telegraph last year, I seem to think that I don't know how that went under the Metropolitan Police's radar for so long when it was briefed to the press, first of all. And I think that it was a surprise considering the amount of time Rishi spent in the room, if reports are to be believed. I do think if they had challenged that, though, in Rishi's case, there might have been a bit of an opportunity to overturn it. But I think that he's right in accepting responsibility as well. But I don't think that he should resign either.
Ben? I mean, really, both the same questions, I think. You know, how divided do you think that young Conservatives are on the issue? And did Rishi Sunak's fine come as a surprise to you?
Well, again, I kind of echo Daniel's comments on that, and some of the groups I'm in, I've seen, some people are defending the Prime Minister, others, such as myself, are, very much disgusted by this. And Rishi's fine did come as a bit of a surprise to me, as I didn't, really believe, as far as I'm aware, I hadn't known he was there. But obviously, the Metropolitan Police Service, obviously, they know something, that we didn't. So it did come as a surprise, and I'm truthfully not surprised he didn't resign, because it's very much the case of, I feel that if one went, the other had to. So I think they're both going to stick in together. Although, if the Prime Minister resigns, Rishi should go as well, because they have both been found, effectively guilty of the same thing.
And what about the other way around? If Rishi resigns, should the Prime Minister go as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If the Chancellor is then, admitting, what he did was wrong, I don't see how the Prime Minister could fight on, really. He wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
One thing that critics are honing in on is whether the Prime Minister has lied or misled not just Parliament, but the public, which seems a very important part of this discussion. When questioned about the parties before the police investigations, he had this to say.
All guidance was followed.
That was brief. Thank you, team in the studio. But he since apologised for breaching the rules, saying that he fully respects the outcome of the police investigation. So do you think it's right that questions are being asked about the Prime Minister's honesty? And is there a sort of moral obligation that isn't to do with the rules of Parliament, as just discussed with Dr. Harriet White, but just a sense of taking personal responsibility that makes you gather the respect of voters as an honourable human being? Daniel?
I think there's a real question over the ministerial code now, whether it's fit for purpose and whether it needs to be reviewed, and whether the Nolan principles are actually fit for the present political climate. I think there needs to be a real, perhaps, inquiry within the House to determine how they can ensure better scrutiny of decision makers, and how, if a law is broken, we can better hold a Prime Minister to account, because I think individual responsibility is something that seems to be lacking in politics. And I do think that Parliament needs to address this issue.
Well, Ben, I'm imagining that's one thing that you and Daniel can agree on.
Yeah, most definitely. As we were saying, as you were discussing on here before, it seems when it comes to the ministerial code, the Prime Minister is, the judge and the jury. And if the Prime Minister breaks the code, how is it acceptable in our modern day democracy that he can just, excuse himself, if you will, from doing that? So I definitely support, a review into how we conduct these, because it is an unacceptable way to conduct business, really.
Daniel Grainger and Ben Hawkes, thank you both for joining us. We're going to have to return to you, so please say yes when the investigation and Sue Gray's report is finally published. It's been really interesting talking to you both. Thank you for expressing your views.